Alright, so I'm back with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be doing some puzzles, some tactics training, mainly just because I haven't done this in a while, and I feel like it could be useful. Just walking through my thought processes, when I'm doing the puzzles, could be useful for not only myself, but for anyone watching. You can see the way that I work these out. And unless you're a strong master that is making fun of me for being terrible at these puzzles, I think it could be useful for anyone watching. So let's just jump right in. So my puzzle rating is 2989. I haven't done puzzles in quite some time, so we will see how this goes. So we've got this rook and pawn endgame of some sort. So I have 6 pawns, he's got 6 pawns, so it's pretty even right now. He's got an active rook that's tied down to this pawn. My rook is stuck defending this pawn. However, the first thing I notice in this position, is that his king does not have any squares. So notice how his king can't go to any of the surrounding squares. That should be a red flag for possible tactical ideas. So there's a lot of ideas that come to mind. The first one that just immediately sticks out to me is just rook e8, just giving up this pawn to go threaten checkmate. So basically, after rook e8, I don't see how he stops rook e4, which would be checkmate. After something like rook e8, he can play b takes c4 maybe, but then you take with the b pawn, you play b takes c4, and then I don't see a way for him to stop rook e4 checkmate. So I think that is going to be a quick solution. So yeah, you take here, and then the idea is not to play rook e4 right away, but it's to play b takes c4, keep this king in a box, and then play rook e4 next, and that is going to be it. So that was a quick puzzle. Hopefully we get some more difficult ones. I'm sure we will, but that was a quick puzzle. Basically, you just have to notice that his king is in a box, and you don't necessarily have to have this rook tied down this pawn, since you can create an immediate mate threat with rook e8, and that is going to be it. So on to the second puzzle. Alright, so we've got this queenless middle game of some sort, so still a lot of pieces on the board, but there are no queens. Material looks to be even, but I prefer white here. White's got a bit of a fractured pawn structure, but black's pieces are just horribly coordinated here. These rooks are just very uncoordinated, and this bishop on f8 is stuck. So there's clearly some issues going on in the black camp here. And the question is, how can I take advantage of that? So my first thought is to play something like knight d5. There's a lot of pressure that could be put on c7. But what else is there? Let's think. Knight b5 right away, just to attack c7, is also pretty reasonable idea. And I mean, after something like knight b5, you really can't defend c7 since it's hit twice. So that is the first move that sticks out to me. And I'm not really sure what black does after something like knight b5. What else is there? So I feel like there are even other tactical ideas after knight b5. You don't even have to take with the knight with check necessarily. You can possibly even play something like bishop takes at some point, but I feel like knight b5 should just be strong here, so I'm kind of curious as to what the catch is. So is there any sort of defense to knight b5? Maybe he can play something like bishop d7 and try and unwind. It looks really dicey though, and I don't really see that working out very well for him, but he might not be getting checkmated right away, which is maybe a plus for him. What else is there? Let's think. I really think knight b5 is the move, but there's also these other knight moves to consider, like knight d5, a variety of knight d5 moves. Interesting. Okay. I'm still really leaning towards knight b5. I just don't see a defense, so I'm kind of leaning towards that. But there is some benefit to moving this knight because it does open up the e file. Maybe there's something to do with that. Not really sure here. This one's a little bit tougher, but also I feel like my position is much better, and I feel like there are probably multiple moves that are winning, or not necessarily winning, but much better. So this is going to be a type of puzzle where you're trying to find the most winning move. There's probably going to be something that is a clear knockout that I might not be seeing. It might just be knight b5. Knight b5 looks really strong, and I don't see a defense. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and play it. Okay. And then, okay, he goes rook h5. So I thought bishop d7 might have been a better try, potentially. So what else? What's the knockout here? Looks like I could play something like knight takes c7, but I don't know if that's really the best option. Because he can trade, and then bishop takes e7. That might still be the best, just because I'm threatening mate on d8, but I'm wondering if there is something even more crushing in this position. Let's see. What else can we do here? Also very tempting to do stuff like rook d8, but that doesn't quite work, because he can take with the king, and I don't think that leads to anything. So what else? Let's think. Knight d5 is a possibility. I really just think knight takes c7 just seems straightforward, and I'm gonna feel like a fool if this is not the answer, but it just seems straightforward. Knight takes c7, check. He only has one move. Rook takes c7. And then what? What is the follow-up? What is the follow-up? So maybe bishop takes c7 could be considered, but now that doesn't make any sense because he can go rook takes b5. So I'm just hard pressed to play something other than knight takes c7 here. Knight takes c7 just looks winning, and I just don't really see any other move. That maybe knight d5, but that's no. This has got to be knight takes c7. Yeah. And then in this position, barring that there isn't another move, I think just bishop takes c7. You just take the free piece, threaten checkmate on d8, and then I think maybe he has to go knight c7. I think this should be it. That was a pretty interesting puzzle because it just seemed like a straightforward. It didn't really have too many crazy tactics here. It was pretty much just play the best move, which is interesting. But regardless, 2 in a row. On to the next one. All right, so we've got another rook endgame. This one is very interesting because white is up a full rook for 2 pawns, but I've got these 2 pass pawns, so clearly it's going to be some kind of trick where I'll get to promote one of these. I would assume that's my first instinct. So what else? What do I do here? So I notice that this rook is under a little bit of pressure, and the first move that comes to mind, I haven't calculated anything yet, but rook e5 does look like something to consider. But I don't know what happens after rook e5. If he just wants to take here, and then take here, and then we've probably got a drawn rook endgame with rook and 2 pawns versus rook and 2 pawns. That should be a very difficult win. So that's probably not it. But that is a interesting idea to think about. So maybe what do I do here? So if I go a2, what happens? So if I go a2 here, he's got to go rook a5 to stop me from queening. And then what? If I go c2, he's going to bring this other rook over and get behind. So if I go a2 and then he goes rook a5 and then I go c2 and then he just brings this other rook over, then I think I'm toast because he gets both of his rooks behind my pawns, and I don't think there's anything I can do there. So I think the idea here is to play a2, bait one of his rooks over, and then maybe this idea. Does this idea make any sense in this position? Rook e5. If he... No, this is a tough one. What is the idea? So if I go here, and he takes, I can take this rook, but where is the win? What is the trick here? So if I go c2, he can probably just get away with taking, and then I can take here, and it's going to be a draw at the end of the day. I feel like there's probably some way that I can promote both of these, or I can promote one of these pawns, because if I promote one of these pawns, I'm going to be winning, but easier said than done, because they're not connected. They're not connected pass pawns. So I think I have to get a little bit tricky here. I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to go about this. Maybe there's some sort of rook a7 business, potentially. It's not entirely clear to me. So if I go a2, he goes rook a5. Rook c7, maybe? That's no good. What is the idea? Maybe that is the idea. So something like a2, rook a5, rook c7, rook c5. You can trade there, which is interesting. You can trade rooks, and then he can't stop that. So if I go rook, oh no, what was it? So let's take a look at a2. So a2, he has to go rook a5. There's no other move. Then if I play something like rook c7, so actually, I think now I'm curious about how this works. So what if we do it the other way around? That doesn't work. So a2, rook a5, rook c7. So if he takes this pawn, I take his rook. That's tricky. So a2, rook a5, rook c7. Huh. This is tricky. So a2, rook a5, c2. So we've got two connected pass pawns in this line. And then I feel like there might be some sort of sneaky trick here that I'm not seeing. Huh. So rook... No. So if I go a2 here, rook a5, if I promote, he has to take. Then I can take here. And I still got this pass pawn, but, is that winning? It's probably winning for black, but how easily? Okay, regardless, I think the first move has to be a2. I don't think there's any other option. So let's just take a look at this position. So here I think there are two moves or maybe three moves to consider. There's a1 queen, there's c2, and there's rook c7. So I think the most forcing is obviously to queen, because if you queen, he has to play rook takes, and then you take his rook. And that resulting endgame is probably winning for me. I have this extra pawn, but I'm wondering if that's enough. Is that enough to get the job done? Not sure. I also feel like something like c2 is really tempting, but I don't know what to do after rook c5. I don't quite know what to do there. Maybe there's some rook e5 business. Is that? I wonder if that could be the trick. If I do something like c2 here, and then after rook c5, rook e5. That could very well be the answer. And I think I might actually go with that now that I'm thinking about it. So c2, rook c5, and then rook e5. The idea is trying to pull one of the rooks away from the pawn. If you go take one of the pawns, then I'll take your rook. So I think this is the idea, to go rook e5 here, which I did not see, but it's a very clever idea. So the idea is after rook e5, if you take on c2, I take your rook and I'm going to queen. And then if you take this rook, I'm just going to queen, and your rooks are not necessarily coordinated. So this rook would still be hit on e5, and I'm also threatening to queen. So maybe what do you do there? You don't have time to play rook takes a2 since your rook is hanging here, so I think this might just be winning. Yeah, so here in this position, rook takes c5, and then the threat was just queening, so he takes, and then that's going to be a win. So that was a pretty successful outing. Got 3 puzzles in a row. That last one was a really nice one, really tricky. Took me a while to see, but it was a good puzzle, and it was a good little puzzle run. And I hope you guys learned something, and I'll talk to you soon.